your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for a light and fit remix. Like a crunchy storm of graham cookies, caramel pearls, and dark chocolate, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 light and fit remix varieties with craveable flavors and up to 120 calories and 10 grams of protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. We've got an action-packed show. It's Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Frank. You know what that means. First hour of this show is a little Ask Frank Anything, and I've already been hearing a lot of questions people have been sending via email, via social media, but this hour belongs to those of you who dial, who dare to dial. If you have a question, give me a call, 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. Just make them interesting, make them creative, make them out of the box. And whoever comes up with the most interesting question, we will give you something from the Other Side of Midnight online store. Now, special programming note, this Sunday, my friend and colleague Roger Stone is away for the inauguration, so I'm going to be filling in for him this Sunday right after Cindy Adams. I'll be on from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and I'm looking forward to it. It's a historic weekend. It's an exciting weekend, not only because of all the playoff football that's going on, but it's an exciting weekend because of the inauguration on Monday, and I would love for you to tune in. I just got informed of this a little earlier, so I don't know what I'm going to actually do for those 3 hours, but it's going to be fun. You could bet it's going to be interesting. I'm going to try and come up with some creative things, maybe some things with an eye towards history. We're going to have people calling in from Washington, D.C., probably including Roger himself, who's been at many presidential inaugurations. So please tune in this Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. All right. As I mentioned, it's Ask Frank Anything, 646-720-0635. Got a lot of other fun stuff that I think you're going to enjoy, in addition to denunciations and my football picks for the playoffs, which have been woeful this year. Want to get into a story that you might have missed. It's a pretty important case that the Supreme Court is hearing, but there's also a pretty interesting case regarding defamation and CNN, and it's raising a lot of questions about where free speech ends and defamation begins. And these are exactly the types of questions that I love to tackle. But speaking of questions, let me hear yours, 646-720-0635. If you have any good suggestions in terms of what I should do for Sunday afternoon's show when I'm filling in for Roger, I'd love to hear them. You can email me, frank.morano@wabcradio.com. That's frank.morano @wabcradio.com.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. What if we had the Clean Slate Act, but for cops? That's the idea behind a new bill introduced by Democratic Assembly member Sam Berger. His proposal would seal records of unproven complaints against law enforcement officers, similar to how the Clean Slate Act, enacted last year, seals old criminal records for citizens, but with one important distinction. While the Clean Slate Act seals most convictions, Berger's bill applies only to complaints that were never proven. Substantiated complaints would remain publicly accessible. The logic here is clear. If we believe in second chances for those who've been convicted of crimes, why wouldn't we believe in first chances for people who've done nothing wrong? For police officers, an unproven complaint on their record can have real consequences, even if it's baseless. It can hurt their chances of getting a promotion, disqualify them from private sector jobs after leaving the force, and even affect personal matters like custody battles or loan approvals. This stigma can make the job of being a cop, already one of the toughest jobs out there, even less appealing. And right now, we need cops. Across New York, law enforcement agencies are struggling to recruit and retain officers. Public perception of police is at an all-time low, and staffing shortages mean longer response times, overworked officers, and greater stress on the entire system. Berger's bill could help change that by offering some peace of mind to officers who are unfairly targeted by baseless complaints, many of which, let's be honest, are weaponized by anti-police activists. Here's how the bill works. If a complaint is found to be completely untrue, it would be sealed 1 year after the officer is cleared. If a complaint is determined to be true but justified, it would be sealed immediately. Complaints that lack enough evidence to be proven would be sealed after 3 years, as long as no other substantiated complaints or disciplinary actions arise in that time. This isn't about shielding bad cops. Records of proven misconduct would remain accessible to the public. Oversight agencies like the Civilian Complaint Review Board and the State Attorney General's Office would still have full access to sealed records. What this bill does is balance transparency with fairness, ensuring that officers aren't unfairly punished for accusations that don't hold water. Critics argue that sealing any complaints undermines transparency. But let's remember, transparency doesn't mean leaving innocent people vulnerable to attacks on their character and their livelihood. Berger's bill protects officers from being branded unfairly while maintaining accountability for genuine misconduct.
Beam me up!
I'm all for it. To be continued.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
The Other Side at Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Here's the story. Former Mayor Bill de Blasio has been dealt yet another blow in his attempt to avoid paying nearly $500,000 in restitution and fines for using taxpayer dollars to cover the travel expenses of his NYPD security detail during his ill-fated 2020 presidential campaign. This week, New York State Supreme Court Judge Shahabuddin Abid Ali dismissed de Blasio's lawsuit, calling his arguments meritless. The crux of the matter lies in a ruling from the city's Conflict of Interest Board back in 2023. They determined that while the city could cover the salaries and overtime of officers in his protective detail, taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for their travel, lodging, and meal expenses when accompanying him on campaign stops in places like Iowa, Illinois, and South Carolina. Despite being told this, de Blasio racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses and then had the audacity to argue that he shouldn't have to pay it back. De Blasio's defense hinged on two claims. First, that mayors are somehow exempt from city charter laws on conflicts of interest, and second, that it wasn't his decision, but the NYPD's, to provide this level of security. The court didn't buy it. In an 81-page ruling, Judge Alley sided with the city, affirming that public resources can't be used for personal gain, period. The ruling made it clear de Blasio's actions were an abuse of his official position, and his claims that the Conflict of Interest Board was acting irrationally didn't hold water. Let's not sugarcoat this. De Blasio's attempt to dodge accountability is an insult to the taxpayers of New York City. The court's decision isn't just legally correct, it's morally correct. No mayor, no public official is above the law. If ordinary citizens misused public funds, there'd be consequences. Why should an elected official be treated any differently? What's particularly galling is that this isn't just about a simple oversight or miscalculation. It's about entitlement. De Blasio made the conscious decision to run for president, a campaign that, let's face it, no one took seriously, and he expected taxpayers to foot the bill for his personal ambitions. And now, rather than take responsibility, he spent years dragging this out in court, costing the city even more time and money. This ruling sends a clear message. New Yorkers won't tolerate people that they think are untouchable. The law applies to everyone, from the average Joe to the guy sitting in Gracie Mansion. And for that, Judge Alley deserves our thanks. It's time for de Blasio to pay up, own his mistakes, and stop wasting everyone's time.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The Other Side at Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Here's the story. Newly minted NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch has ordered a full review of a car leasing program that's costing the department over $1 million a month. Known as CRALO, C-R-A-L-O, the Confidential Rental and Leasing Office, the program was designed to provide undercover vehicles for officers and detectives working on sensitive investigations. But as Commissioner Tisch is discovering, it's grown into a bloated and abused system that's benefiting top brass far more than frontline officers. Here's the problem. CRALO currently funds over 1,000 leased vehicles, but many of these aren't being used for investigations at all. Instead, some higher-ranking officials are reportedly treating the program like their personal car service, with leased SUVs at their disposal for everyday use. And they're not just bending the rules, they're outright exploiting FEMA codes to access federally funded vehicles, raising red flags not just within the NYPD, but also among federal oversight agencies. Commissioner Tisch has made it clear that this stops now. She's requiring every NYPD unit to take a full inventory of their CRALO vehicles and justify why they're needed. And she's drawn a bright line. These cars are for investigators and specialized duties, not for executives and certainly not for chauffeurs ferrying top brass around town. By June 30th, 2025, every lease must be reevaluated, justified, and brought into compliance. Now, let me say this. Commissioner Jessica Tisch is proving once again to be a much-needed breath of fresh air for the NYPD. This is exactly the kind of leadership the department needs, a willingness to call out inefficiency and corruption, even when it's coming from within. She's taking on entrenched interests and demanding accountability for taxpayer dollars. And let's face it, New Yorkers deserve no less. Programs like CRALO serve an important purpose. Undercover work is critical for keeping our city safe, and detectives need the right tools to do their jobs effectively. But when resources meant for public safety are hijacked by officials looking for a little extra comfort or convenience, that's not just wasteful. It's an insult to taxpayers and to the hardworking cops who actually rely on these vehicles. Commissioner Tisch's actions send a clear message. The days of business as usual are over. If you want a car on the city's dime, you'd better have a good reason. And if you don't, well, the ride's over. It's refreshing to see a leader who's not afraid to tackle internal abuses head on. Jessica Tisch is setting a new standard for accountability in the NYPD, and for that, she's got my full support. It's about time someone put the brakes on waste and abuse in this city.
Beam me up!
To be continued.